Dr. Jazz.
Hey guys,
Dr.
Samo here.
Jazz.
Thanks for checking out the channel and its contents. And if you feel like it, please do subscribe. Thanks so much. Enjoy the video. Bye. We begin. Man, been a fan for a long time, like since
Oh, thank you so much.
the Goat Hill Junket record, like which goes back like shit, almost 30 years now. No, a little bit less.
It goes a ways back. Where are you from?
I'm in Slovenia, Europe.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah, you ever
Beautiful.
played here, by the way? I
I
I don't
feel
recall, but
like no.
all right.
Croatia, yes. Slovenia, no. And I mean, I would really love to, because in addition to wanting to check it out, I'm a big fan of wines from Slovenia.
Man, if you knew where our house is, like on the top of a vineyard, like in
Oh my
the
God.
white wine region, like our neighbor is one of the best white wine makers in Slovenia. So
What's the name of that?
Maribor is the town. Like we live like next to this town, like 5 kilometers away in the countryside. So
What's
it's
the name of the wine producer that's the neighbor?
oh, Horvat,
Okay,
it's
okay.
amazing.
Yes, I believe I've heard of this
It's
producer. Yeah.
really good. I mean, it's really bad because I sometimes go there to buy wine and then it ends like really badly in a. It's like, man, you have to try this one and this one, and I'm like, "Well, yeah,
Incredible. No, just such
yeah,
an amazing, rich tradition there,
yeah,
and
yeah."
yeah, can't say enough. So hopefully one of these
Oh,
days I'll
man,
get over there.
we have a guest room here, so you can, I can gladly show you around if you'll have a day or two off. So, just really drop me a line, and
Okay,
I love doing that actually. So, uh,
cool,
yeah. So,
cool.
but man, I was so happy to see the new album coming out,
Thank you.
and it's again a Nonette, so which I love the Nonette stuff always. And what's the story behind it? I mean, it's kind of the many of the usual suspects are back from Gerald Clayton and the Ferber brothers, and but
Right.
what's the story behind the new one? I mean,
You know what had happened was that I had started writing some things, some arrangements, just because I kind of wanted to pick that up as an activity again for myself, writing for that band, and I didn't know when we'd get together to play or anything. And so once I had a couple things starting going, I said, well, the way to get the music done, the way for me to finish is to just book a couple gigs. And then I
mm,
know that I've got a date in February and I need to have the stuff ready so that I'm not just reaching into the folders and taking stuff that's old out. So that's what I did, and I called up David Robert over at Sam First, and I just
mm,
said, okay, can we just set a couple of dates? That way, I'll get my ass in gear and make sure I finish the things that I've started. A couple original things and a couple of arrangements of
yeah,
other people's work, and so we did that, and it was kind of the first domino that led to conversations to say, well, this band looks like it's going to be amazing. Why don't we think about recording it for a live record? And so I mean, to me, that's the best way because it was
oh yeah,
not super planned. It was just I'm working on something. I'm enjoying doing this. I want to have a way for it to have some outlet in the end, and and then the pieces fall into place. So
mm,
yeah.
yeah. Did you know that? I mean, when you said you started writing, is it in the beginning already? Like, okay, shit, I'm gonna write for a Nonette, or do you start like
Yeah.
usually just? Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I was
Oh,
sketching
okay,
out some things. I was
okay,
started sketching out some things and I thought, oh, these tunes would work well if I were doing them in the nine-piece band. And I had probably for 5 years been thinking it's probably about time to put that band together again.
yeah,
It's fun. I have a lot of fun when I do it, there's sort of organizational headaches that come with getting 9 people together, but then there's this incredible palette to work with, sonically, and so that's a motivating factor. And so, yeah, I started sketching out some ensemble sections, thinking about how I might do this, and then just going from there. And we recently learned that, which I had no idea. So I was thinking about the rhythm section, and I put Gerald Clayton and Anna Butters and Mark Ferber together, and I thought that's going to be beautiful. And what I totally had forgotten was the very first time that I played at Sam First, that was the band. It was me,
Oh,
Mark,
wow.
Gerald Clayton, Anna Butters. I had no recollection that was, I mean, we'd played together, of course, but I thought that once we found that out, like in
That's
retrospect,
beautiful.
it
Yeah.
was symbolic and cool, and uh, and then just thought about interesting horn players that are around right now that I really wanted to work with, and
Yeah.
yeah, sort of fell into place.
Yeah, I love I mean, I love Alan and
Oh,
Bob Reynolds. I mean, Bob is such a fits so beautifully in this setting. I never heard him in such settings actually. I mean,
mm,
usually it's like
right.
different lineups, but this is really nice to hear him. I mean, and
Yeah.
this sounds really nice.
Yeah, he goes anywhere,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah,
a very incredibly versatile musician, and 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 what he's playing always feels like it really needs to be there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What about the tunes? I mean, obviously the originals. I mean, I want to ask you about your writing later also because I listened to the first couple of albums which go way back, and I already like the arrangements and writing back there. And also, I thought about this today. Like it's. I mean, you're a band leader there as well, but it's not a guitarist record. Like, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
many tunes you don't have a solo. You have a solo towards the end, maybe like a short one or something. And uh,
sure.
do you do that consciously, like saying like, okay, shit, I want to feature the music? It's like Bill Frisell, he's the same for me. Like, it's all about the music. I mean,
That's very well articulated. Yeah, for me, of course, you know, guitar is my instrument. It's the instrument that I practice, and I've spent years and years. I'm not playing other instruments, so I've dedicated myself to this physical object. But at the same time, I'm very interested in how I can be in the ensemble
yeah,
contextually without it feeling like I need to feature myself. I mean, I just kind of build the music around. I mean, maybe sometimes I'm falling too far back, and that might even be a function of sometimes uh loving what other people are playing so much that I can forget about myself, which
mm,
I mean, I'm thinking this out loud maybe for the first time. I kind of like the idea of forgetting about myself and focusing on these other people and their contributions. It's not always part of a big plan. It's just when I'm feeling the moment to play, then I play. And when I'm feeling like being supportive or
yeah,
uh, directing the music or sculpting the music from the standpoint of being an ear that's hearing what's going on at the moment, and and deciding what might be necessary or cool or really interesting, that to me is in a sense analogous to playing an instrument. I mean, if we think about these wonderful band leaders, I mean, of course, Duke
yeah,
Ellington, which I would not compare myself to, but this idea of the ensemble being his instrument, or Gil Evans. I'm sure my father
your
thought
father, sure, yeah,
about things that way, that that the orchestra is his instrument. I mean, my dad always told me, you know, like, you love to compose, you love to write. Don't stop practicing don't stop playing. Don't become so obsessed with composing that you stop, because he said, luckily you play guitar, you don't play trumpet. He was a trumpet player. He said, because he said, if I'm,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
it's gone. And that's really ended up being what happened to him. And I don't think he regretted it, but I think he just, he had thrown himself so deeply into the process of composing and arranging and orchestrating. So if people go and look on YouTube for Gerald Wilson, there are some films of him playing with the band. But then after a certain point, I mean, he stopped. And of course he had great soloists. So anyway, he did give me that one little, among many pieces of advice, that just keep playing. But at the same time, what I just said, which maybe the first time that I've actually said it that way, and just, I become an ear in the context of the music, and that is significant to me as the playing. And I also love playing rhythm guitar.
Sure.
So like little pieces of rhythm and support is also something I really like to do. So, you know, a listener might hear me doing that, and I'm completely content, and I'm not taking a solo, you know, in a piece, because it's really fun, or things that provide atmosphere
Yeah.
for guitar. So
I really like. I mean, from a listener, me being a guitarist, I completely understand, and as a listener even more, I think, because you know, sometimes you go to incredible players playing a concert, and it's like, you know, they play a head and a guitar solo and a bass solo and a drum solo. The next second tune is the same. Third, you know, then I mean, they're blowing it, but it's just like, guys, you know, I don't know, do something else. We all know you're monsters or your instruments, but it's just, you know, it gets boring. And like with this type of approach, I think it's like,
yeah.
I don't know, it's unpredictable in a way, and interesting. It's like, oh shit, okay, we're going there now, and
Absolutely.
it's so important. So important.
And, you know, I mean, this being a live record, kind of first time for all of us, mostly seeing that music and getting to know it. Well, now we've played numerous live gigs, even though the band will change
Sure.
here and there, a different player here, a different player there. We've gotten to know it. So that also affords opportunities that allow the improvisation to kind of come to the foreground a little more for me, I've found. Sure. So maybe in a planning aspect on another live album, I would do a little more planning, because then I could go, okay, then I could feature myself here. But you just don't always know. And it's still compelling. It's still a compelling process, no matter what, you know.
How much does the change of a player change the character of the music, actually? I mean, if you change Gerald for someone else, let's say, or Mark.
Yes. For instance, we've done some recent shows with a piano player named Josh Nelson. Great piano player. It changes significantly, actually, because these voices, you know, the way they hear harmony, the way they will render these tunes tonally. If it's a different alto saxophone player or a different baritone saxophone player, you're going to have these variations. I like that, because then it enables me to try things that will heighten that voice, or you know, so much so that sometimes I'm even reluctant to send somebody to the recording, you know, on anything I've done, because you don't want anybody copying what somebody else did, or feel like that's the thing that we wanted and some other approach wouldn't be welcome
Yeah.
you know. Um, uh, I love and relish that chance to hear different voices in different contexts, and maybe in large ensemble jazz when there's arrangements to speak of. That's not always the way that people orient to it. I mean, you have an arrangement. The arrangement is supposed to be, it starts at the beginning, it goes through a certain roadmap to get to the end. But that's also a challenge that I give myself. I like this idea of having little modular pieces that I can move around in case something's happening.
Okay.
Um, and I hear it either in the rhythm section or I hear it something going on in the horns that we can exploit. Okay, let's not go to letter D now. Let's stay here. So and so drop out
That's
because
cool. Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. That's also for you interesting as a band leader. I mean, playing the same tunes for, the 20th of time, it can get like, but if you have this, then it's really like, okay, let's
yeah.
explore. That's so important. Yeah.
I mean, I love the work of Butch Morris
Oh,
and
man. Whew. Yeah.
his whole. I mean, he physicalizes that, and really, I mean so in that sense, the orchestra really does become the instrument, and this conduction process and the sense of everybody knowing what the signals and cues are to create something. That, I mean, that's pushing that all the way
Yeah.
to an incredible level. I have that book of the conduction
Yeah. I
language,
know. Yeah. Sure.
Morris,
Sure.
and I would love to internalize some of that stuff. I mean, I remember going to see him at New Blue different times over the years, and just my jaw would drop. It was so heavy and incredible and creative, and it went into so many different places. That's sometimes when things get to the completely improvised, it sometimes seems to kind of narrow the choices. But I
Hmm.
remember in that band that, I mean, if there was a pulse, if there wasn't pulse, if it was, there was every kind of option was available, and so even in the much less totally improvised
Yeah.
sphere that I'm working in, I would love to see how I can push a little, quite a bit further into that, because I think it's really interesting.
Well, it's a good option, like you said, leaving something out or going a different path. I mean, that's already,
Yes.
that's quite cool, actually.
You know what's tough is, I mean, Mark Ferber is such a good friend of mine, and we've worked together so long, and Alan. And I mean, and Alan and Mark as twins, they have that ESP thing going, the mind meld of twins but Mark has that, I think, with other people as well. And so I mean, he'll often ask to look at the chart, but I often just say, you don't need the chart.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he really, he's such an incredible, intuitive, as well as incredibly
Yeah.
technically gifted musician. But the intuition that he brings is something that I really value. Sometimes I feel like, oh God, and I mean, he's been the exclusive drummer in the Nonette over years, and so I'd be a little scared with other drummers, but I know it would. I mean, I would love to play with Jonathan Blake. I would love to
Sure.
any number of people to hear what they would do with the music and where they'd go with it.
Yeah, especially drums. If you change drums, that's for
Yeah,
me at least, that changes the character completely. I
it
mean,
really
it's
does.
insane. Like, but the rhythm is like, yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. What about the other tunes? I mean, there's like, I really like that you chose Benny Wallace's tune. I love that album, by the way, Border Town, which is like,
So do I. So do I.
and Benny Wallace. I know he played on the record I listened today, the Goat Hill one, and he's such an underrated player. Like,
Yes.
what is it about him, let's say, and about this tune, or like also you chose for me, okay, a known Beatles tune because, but like for a wider audience, maybe not so known, but like such beautiful changes in that one. How did
Yeah.
you decide for this other people's tunes? I mean, like, what was the basis for?
Yeah, I kind of keep a little mental checklist. Like for instance, I have a job teaching at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music in the jazz program, and we just 2 nights ago did a performance. It's a thing that they call the side by side. So it's that they put together a student ensemble that a faculty member is part of, and then we do a concert, and they'll do 2 different faculty members inside these different groups, and everybody brings in original tunes. There's usually too many tunes.
Sure.
It's kind of limited time, but one of the students wrote a song that's just literally. So I was flying back home and I could not get this song out of my head. Like I just couldn't. It was so good. It was just a head with changes, but I just wasn't this insane composition, but it just worked. And so I was thinking at some point I want to record this guy's songs or this guy's song or write an arrangement of it because it's just so cool. That's kind of my process with things that I like. There's things that I just go back and listen to all the time. And Benny Wallace has been a great friend and mentor for many years. And those 2 albums on Blue Note, Twilight Time and Border Town, when I first discovered them in the 80s when they were coming out, they really changed my life in certain ways. And I loved the strength and uniqueness of his voice and the place that it was coming from. You mean really almost geographical, this southern place, country swamp, blues, roadhouse, juke joint thing married to another sensibility that's way out in another sphere. And over the years got to know him and seek him out both for mentorship and friendship, and we found that we had so much in common. So that relationship for me personally has been very close. We worked together on a project of his during the year that Coleman Hawkins would have been 100. So it was
that's Donald is also on that one, right? Vega.
Donald Vega.
I know that record. That's a beautiful record.
Disorder at the Border.
Exactly.
And so together we arranged numerous things, and that kind of became an offshoot. He kept a 9-piece thing going, and I'd written some things for it. And so, Border Town felt like a really, I just love where that piece goes, and it's, some people have been saying to them, it feels to me that it feels a little cinematic, almost like there should be some kind of Western imagery going. And when Gerald played the solo, I had told him, I said, once when you come in, it's almost like it should be that moment in a Western when like the villain or the sheriff goes through the swinging doors into the saloon and there's like a drunken piano player playing an upright spinet, and then Gerald's interpretation of what that was ended up being so cool. So just Benny offers something really, really compelling with his tunes. Because by the Beatles I love how it balances that album of Abbey Road out. And as you say, those diminished chords and those just really interesting arpeggiated harmonies. I wondered how I could render the feeling of the piece with the horns and find a way that it could actually develop, because without the words, I wasn't quite sure, but found a setting for it. So I'm always interested in songs that will help me find interesting settings to do things with. There's a Keith Jarrett piece from 2 Keith Jarrett pieces on the album, from the album Treasure Island. And one, he plays this very beautiful, tender piano intro, and I thought, well, could I try to get that in with the horns?
Horns, yeah.
So just these are just things that I go back and listen to that I fall in love with. Helps me feel really involved with them in a
Mhm.
silent way, of course.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
just all the years just meditating to that piece. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned all these players now, the Beatles, and in a silent way, we go to Miles and Zawinul and all these guys. Like, how did you decide for the guitar, first of all, and the jazz guitar influences? I mean, there's obviously your father, and he's done arrangements for everyone on this planet. Like, if you, but like, why the guitar, and who were the guitarists that you fell in love with? I mean, I hear the tradition in your playing from, I guess, Oscar Moore and Charlie Christian and all these guys. Like, but how did you begin, like, on the instrument?
Well, I was a child of the 70s. I'm born in 1968, and I grew up in Los Angeles, um, uh, listening to rock and roll, really, and folk music. Even though my father was around, and so I was exposed to jazz and jazz musicians in a very intimate way before I paid attention to it. And also my mother, who was not a musician, was just an incredible music fan
Mm,
with a really wide taste. So she didn't have a huge record collection, but she had in the record collection, everything from Stan Getz to Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, to lots of classical things like Eric Satie piano
mm,
music, Debussy string quartets, uh, Ravi Shankar. She liked Indian classical music, and so I would pick records just at random. In addition to the fact that I was listening to the Jackson Five
sure.
and you know music like that, um, as well as things like Kiss and Aerosmith,
Sure.
1976,
Yeah, yeah.
7, 8. So, but then I would pick out this Ravi Shankar or Eric Satie was this
Yeah.
amazing thing. I always would go back to this Eric Satie piano music. So when you're pre-knowing about the harmony that Eric Satie was using, it's just this kind of sonic influence that comes in. But when I wanted to play an instrument, um, my father said, "Well, you could try trumpet," and he put the trumpet in my hands and he showed me the fingerings and he taught me When the Saints Go Marching In and Green Dolphin Street. And
Mm,
but I wasn't this something about this the horn. I just didn't love it because what I wanted to do was play, Don't Think Twice, It's All Right,
sure.
or Want Rock and Roll All Night, or boo-ba-doo-dee, boo-doo-doo-dee-doo,
Walk this way or
right.
whatever. Yeah,
So
yeah,
so I wanted to know riffs. Hendrix was big for me, Purple Haze. So it seemed like, okay, let me just play guitar. I'm just going to play guitar. I want guitar lessons. And so I started there. Well, and there was an after school teacher and she showed me chords. This is going back to the very beginning. I mean,
yeah.
she showed
Interesting.
me the chords and taught me Down by the Riverside and various folk tunes, little blues tunes and things like that. And then, but what happened was me and my friends at school, we put our little bands together. And what I realized pretty quickly was that I had an intuition for like playing some leads. I could just sort of do it. I was hearing the blues licks and the things and little things and it wasn't like it sort of just kept going for me very fast. And so even without rigorous instruction, I started learning things by ear really quickly. And then later on, when my dad started saying, well, okay, what you're playing is a major seventh chord, this is what it is. that just led me into being interested more in jazz sounds. Um, but that might have taken until I was about 13,
Mm, quite
14.
early still. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I heard Dexter Gordon records, Miles Davis, to the point where they really made an impact on me. And then people said, well, if you like this and you want to play guitar, you should listen to Wes
West,
Montgomery,
sure. Yeah, yeah.
listen to Kenny Burrell. Um, and my mom had those records. And so I started listening to Wes Montgomery, Kenny Burrell, Johnny Smith.
Oh yeah, man.
Um, and I fell in love with Johnny Smith and his beautiful, fluid, incredibly articulate sound. I fell in love with Wes Montgomery. Um, and I also liked blues players, B.B. King. I liked the Bill Doggett record, Honky Tonk, that has Billy Butler on
Oh yeah.
guitar, plays that incredibly, like, I was like, I just want to be able to do that. So there were these older school influences, I think, that became a part of that for me. Django Reinhardt, of course, Charlie Christian. And so, yeah, I started to draw those into what I was interested in, because at that point then I sort of stopped being interested in rock and roll as much. Although I liked Prince during high school, there were things that I liked, but I just had become very single-minded about, okay, let me try to start learning some of this vocabulary, and then the rest was history, you know.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. John
And
Scofield I discovered
also, yeah,
around grade.
Border Town. He's on Border Town or Twilight, the Twilight one. I think it's on both actually.
He's on
Both,
both
right?
of
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
Mitch Watkins too is on Border
yeah, yeah,
Town, I think.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
oh my God, yeah. And I mean, yeah, when I was 12th grade, well, Schofield with Miles Davis, Decoy,
Ooh,
that was where I just, well, oh my God,
I get it. Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah. And your father also immediately dragged you in his groups, right? I mean, you started.
I
You were
was
like 17 or something when you did
about
that first record,
17.
right? Yeah,
I wanted to do it, and he said,
incredible.
"Are you sure you're ready?" And I said, "I'm ready." I was super confident. I don't think I was really ready. He had these incredible players in his band, like Harold Land and
Yeah,
Teddy Edwards and Gerald Wiggins and Oscar Brashear, incredible players, and Paul Humphrey on drums. But when I was young, I was just so fired up. You're just fired up when you're a kid. I mean, working with these amazing students that I'm working with up in San Francisco, as well as at Cal Arts, the energy level is so high,
yeah.
and just the amount of how fired up people are. I remember that's the way I was. I'm 17. I want to play in the band. Come on, Dad, let's go. But at the same time, I had been paying attention to his music, and I learned the Joe Pass solos from his records from the 60s, because I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Joe
Yeah.
Pass is just so fluid on those records. And and I said, I can do it. And over the years, it was an education for me as well. I'd come to rehearsal and I'd be noodling, and one of the older musicians would be like, Anthony, stop playing, stop playing, because
Sure.
you just have no context.
That's
Um,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah,
Did you immediately then afterwards started to lead bands as well? Because I know that first record came out what, like 96 or 97, right? Like
that's right.
when does
So
the band leading come
I
into
went
this?
to college in Bennington, Vermont, a school called Bennington, which was interesting because I studied there with Bill Dixon
Mm,
and
wow, really? Wow,
Graves,
wow.
that was an incredible experience in both cases, very different in both cases, but very mind expanding and unbelievable to encounter
Oh,
those
Bill
two.
Dixon, man. Whew,
Yeah.
I love that guy.
But,
Yeah.
I was interested in the music that they made, but I also wanted to swing, and Bill didn't have much interest in that at all. Milford was more. He just didn't. Bill just didn't want to encourage it in me. I actually think it was wise. Bill was like, "Okay, you're going to do that anyway. but come on, like there's this whole other world of sound that exists. So I'm glad that he was less encouraging about it. Um, Milford Graves, though, from a rhythmic standpoint, in terms of rhythmic momentum, he was very interested in swing, although he had no use for
Yeah,
4/4 pulse, but because he was someplace else. But then after I graduated, I moved to New York, and I lived there for 5 years. And
okay.
the main place that I would hang out was the place called Augie's,
Sure.
which yeah, so which later it's the same place where Smoke is now, but so that's where I first met people like Peter Bernstein, Brad Meldau, Joel Fromm, Larry Goldings, Bill
Yeah. Bill
Stewart,
Stewart, yeah, all these guys.
Tyler Mitchell, Dwayne Burno. Those are the people that I saw all the time and got to play with, and Renato Kiko, piano
Sure.
player.
Slovenian
Oh,
guy, yeah.
so great.
Yeah.
And that was a moment for swinging, like people just and so that was really cool. I eventually moved back to LA, and that's when I started my own band. Although I did things around New York, but I didn't like I didn't I was still there were a lot of things I was still getting together, and I didn't get a ton of gigs. I played a lot with Ed Schuler at
Really?
that point.
Oh, wow,
Yes,
man.
we were
Okay.
good friends. So
Amazing.
Ed and George. Um, Ed brought me in on some things with Dewey Redman during that time.
Really? Oh,
Really
shit, man. That's
fun.
amazing.
Yeah, like Visiones, we played with yeah, it would be like Ed Schuler, Dewey Redman, Tommy Campbell, different
Wow.
there. So I encountered a lot of people, and then I got hired to play with this French singer named Vanessa Paradis, uh,
Really? Oh,
on
man.
like a total rock thing. And I went and toured with her,
How did
did
that
her.
happen?
I grew up with Lenny Kravitz here in Los Angeles, and we stayed friends. We've stayed friends over the many years. And he said, I produced this album for this singer, and she needs a guitarist to go out with her on tour. You think you could do it?" I said, "Yeah." And so I went, and
That's amazing.
after that, when I came to back to New York, I was sort of like, I feel like going to see my parents again and being in LA, and that's what brought me back to Los Angeles. Mid
Interesting.
90s, about 95. And then I was looking for things to do of my own, and I kind of latched onto this idea of a larger band. I was listening to things like T-Bone Walker.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, I was listening to Marty Page's records with his band, Gil Evans, like early those Pacific Jazz records. And I thought, oh, this might be a really cool context to put my guitar,
Yeah.
surround my guitar with, and I just sort of went for it from there. And I'd always been interested in arranging things for ensembles, and I wanted to marry the two. I thought, I don't just want to play in quartets. Maybe this would work well. I have a horn section, but it's not trumpet section,
Yeah.
trombone.
Absolutely.
It's something that we could work with. So, yeah.
Yeah, you had it early. Like I listened to those tunes today, like Fargo Shuffle and karaoke and all that from the man. It's
Yeah.
already what you talked about before, making these different arrangements. It's already present there. It's really interesting. That
Yeah. 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 And I had little,
really cool.
little kind of novelty things that I like there's actually going back to Benny Wallace, there's a song on my first album that's called Southern Gentleman. And
Oh, that's for
and
Benny.
with
That's
listening
cool.
to things like like Nino Rota, I liked his film scoring. And so I used little devices that I heard in like Nino Rota music. And uh yeah, it was kind of a playground to begin starting to write these things. And
Mm,
yeah.
yeah. How did the gig with? I mean, the first time I heard you was. Then I went back to all of your records. Was the Life in Paris record by Diana, and I
Mm,
transcribed the Fly Me to the Moon solo, which I loved. By the way, the how you developed motivically there and everything. And like, how
thank
did
you.
you get that gig with Diana? And I mean, that's like like the highest stage, let's say, almost in jazz. Like, and playing with her for such a long time, like,
Yes,
how did this relationship develop? And
that came that evolved from my relationship with John Clayton and
mm,
Jeff Hamilton, with whom I was playing during that not quite late 90s, but around 2000. I was invited by John and Jeff to join their big band.
mm,
So I was here in LA. There had been a guitar player that was playing with them named Jim Hirschman, and he moved to New York, and so the chair opened up. And so they invited me on that. And I had known Jeff and John quite a bit over the years, but not closely. And that's their band is like a little family. It really feels like a family, and it's very consistent and very quite different in some ways from the way my dad led his band, because different people came in from time to time, but but John and Jeff have kept their band quite consistent, and there's a longevity in who holds a chair for a
mm.
certain period of time. So I got to know them really well. Jeff Hamilton and I both are really into wine, so we became friends on numerous levels, and they had obviously been mentors of Diana's for many years and had recorded with
Yeah,
her.
the first album, actually, right? Or the second? Yeah, the
Exactly,
first one. Yeah.
exactly. And John and Jeff, the band was the house. There was an actual jazz series during the summers at the Hollywood Bowl, on which John was the artistic director and the band was kind of the house band. So different people would come through, and they might even play with their own quartet or something. Like Oscar Peterson came in, different people, James Moody, but then John would write arrangements for the band with them. And Diana
Mm.
came in 2001, and we did a concert with her at the Hollywood Bowl. And I'd known her and Russell probably since around 97. And I always liked visiting with Russell when
Oh,
they would come to
one of my
LA.
favorite guitarists ever, man.
Yeah, and he
Oh,
was so
yeah.
so crazy. It's so hilarious, and such a great musician, and I just loved him. Diana was a little more reticent and shy, but we were always friendly and see each other on different things. If my dad was playing or if I was playing with somebody else, always very friendly. We also had these events that used to happen at the musicians union local in Los Angeles. Say somebody was getting sick, you know, kind
Oh, yeah.
of
Yep.
that era's equivalent of a GoFundMe, you know, but it would go along with a concert, you know, and so I remember going to the one for Larry Gales, and then John Collins was not doing well at one point, and there was one of these events for John Collins. And these were always great because there'd be like ribs and collard greens and really great soul food, and all kinds of people would just come in and play. If they were in town, they'd come in. So I remember that one. Jimmy Smith played, you know, the B3, Jimmy Smith and Paul Humphrey, just different people who would play. So I remember that was really my first time really getting to kind of sit and hang with Russell and Diana, because they came to John Collins's uh, event, and I loved them both. And then later on, by then in 2001, Russell had left, um, and Dan Fanley was playing with Diana, and she came, and we did these shows at the Hollywood Bowl with the big band. And during one of the rehearsals, she just came up to me and we were chatting, and she said, you know, if there was ever anything that I wanted to do and call you in on, would you be interested in that? And I think she felt like I wouldn't, because I was doing
Mm.
my own band and I was doing these things, and but I said, of course I would. I'd be super interested. You know, I've always loved you, And so I don't know what kind of, I think there were also some conversations maybe the next day after the rehearsal with John and Jeff and Diana, but this was the time that she was deciding to do Live in Paris. And they
Yeah.
knew that they had these shows coming up. And so I think she asked John and Jeff, it sounds like she really thought that I would not be interested. And John and Jeff said, well, we love him. We know he'd be great for it. Just ask him. And so the next day, she and her manager at the gig, like at the gig at the Hollywood Bowl, she and her manager asked if I would come and do these shows that in Paris.
So these were the first times you actually played together, kind of?
Yes.
Oh, wow,
Yes.
man. Okay.
And we had, I mean, one rehearsal, maybe we had two rehearsals. We had one rehearsal and then a kind of a sound check at the Olympia Theater. And Tommy LaPuma, who produced her records, he didn't know me, he'd never met me, and he was not confident that I could cut it. And so John Pisano had played the nylon string guitar on a few of the songs on her record, The Look of Love, same time period, you know, was following The Look of Love. And so Tommy said, well, Tommy, they invited John to do that, to play nylon string. But Tommy said, he called John, he said, man, you know, I don't know about this kid, this Anthony kid, you know, could you bring your electric guitar? And John apparently told him, like, Anthony's got this. It's going to be great. You know, we play together all the time. I was very, very close with John and his wife, and he said, no, I'm not willing to take that chance. You know, bring your electric guitar. Bring the electric guitar. He said, okay, Tommy, I'll do it, but you know, you're going to be fine. Like, you haven't heard this guy. He'll be fine. And so we played the first rehearsal, and then I think Tommy was like, okay, all right, it's fine. We did those, and it was just, yeah, it was really magical moments. Also, kind of very little thinking. I learned all the arrangements from the record. I didn't look at a piece of music, which I feel like really helped me just be in there with them. I learned them off the records, and I had a little cheat sheet with me, and so that I could feel comfortable to play. Sure. And then that was it. We just played those two things, and then several months later, she called me and said, I'm doing a tour. Would you like to do it? And I said, of course. And then that was like years and years of playing together.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I really like how you're so much different than Russell, you know. And I love you guys playing so much, but it's such different voices. Like, you know, Straighten Up and Fly Right. He played it such way, you play So Did I Do. You know, like all these, and it both works incredibly, and it's so nice to see that, like completely the same kind of tradition in a way, but also completely different. Like, I love that.
Yes.
Beautiful to hear that. I mean, and yeah, you've done so much music with her, obviously. So beautiful.
A ton, and it's, for me, it's always been that same process. Just I try to. I'm happy to look at charts, but I like listening to what the other person's doing, and learning, making little notes if I need to, so that I can really be in the music. And so everything that we've played over the years, that's been my process. I mean, the most difficult things would be like arrangements that Klaus Ogerman made, where he had a very interesting way of naming chords. So one of the great lessons I ever got was doing sessions with him, where he would come and sort of translate at the piano what he meant by the naming of the chords, because they were all kind of polychordal over pedal tones, you know, and he was trying to convey the voice leading that he had put in the orchestra in a chord symbol And
That's heavy. Yeah. Yeah.
it was not usually the way that we would think of it because we would create a shorthand in our mind, but he wanted the information from chord to chord so that you could do it, but it actually ended up usually requiring him showing you. And so I got to see in his hands how he was moving, and that was,
Nice, yeah.
he was so heavy. He was so cool.
Yeah, one of the
Yeah.
greats. Yeah. Oh, amazing. How did that session with Paul McCartney go? Working with Paul, also part of.
Yeah, we did numerous sessions over a period of time. I sadly was not available for the first
Yeah,
ones, but they had set the dates. John and Bucky did
Bucky did
those.
it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And all I can say is we had such a great time because Paul is so laid back. He's a real I mean, he's just making jokes all the time and he's making up songs all the time. And if somebody starts in on a little bass line or something, he's improvising lyrics, and he would come and sit either at the piano or with John Clayton on the bass, and he didn't play the upright, but he'd say, okay, like, why don't you try that? And then, or John would do something and he would just find his way in, or Diana would have an idea, I'd have an idea, and he was very open. What I
yeah.
liked
Amazing.
was that he wasn't kind of, I'm the vocalist on this thing with a bunch of people backing me up. He had a band mentality, and so he sat with me a couple times, mirror image guitar. Because he's left-handed, it meant that both of the necks are facing each other rather than the one person's neck here and the one's, and he was just so cool. He was just so cool and laid back. And
It's like Paul McCartney, you know. Like it's
yes,
like one of the
we
greats, and you're like, yeah, man, why are we playing that? It's quite
we
cool.
made one. There was one track that we did, and we also, because there was a record that we made, and then we also did like a filmed version,
Ah, shit, I don't know that.
Capitol
Okay, that's so funny.
Studios. So it's sort of all in black and white, and so the record was called Kisses on the Bottom.
Yeah.
The live session was called Live Kisses.
Mm.
So I'm sure it's out. You
I'll
can,
try to find it. Yeah. Cool.
and there's a tune where he has to sing this, he has to whistle an intro with me. And I sort of had to give him his pitch, like a prepared chord. And on the live session, he couldn't quite get the pitch with his whistling. And like I was thinking that some people that are really major people wouldn't want that scene, but actually on this live thing, the 2 or 3 times where he miscalculates the
That's amazing.
pitch and whistles wrong, and he goes, okay, let's stop again. And I just I liked his sense of humility and
And being
vulnerability.
human, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This was very cool.
Not the superstardom thing. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. Uh, Man, Anthony, what are the plans for the upcoming months? Like, not to take your time too much. Like, are you coming to Europe, by the way? Some touring or
I
gigging, or what are
really
some of
would
the
like,
projects?
a goal for me is to come to Europe as a band leader, even just with a quartet or
Yeah,
something in the next year. It's just something I've never done,
really.
and
Oh
so
shit,
it's
man.
on my list of goals is to just set up a tour, come and play some of my music.
Let me
Uh,
know if you need some help. I can give you some clubs in the area here
okay,
who I think
awesome.
would definitely have you. I think like 100%. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. More stuff with the 9-piece band. Um, I know I'm trying to organize some stuff in New York City, Philadelphia, East Coast kind of things, maybe a couple of US festivals next year. Um, we also made a record with Benny Wallace, a quartet record, his
Oh
first
man.
in
Okay.
quite a few years. It's or a quintet. So it's Benny, myself, Donald Vega, Herlin Riley, and Peter Washington.
Oh man. Okay.
And Simon Moulier plays on a couple of tracks on Vibes. He's a beast. He's amazing. So that album I think is coming out, and Benny seems keen to organize gigs around it. So I think we'll see some stuff with him. He also has a really interesting thing that he does. He lives in Connecticut, and he has a thing called Backcountry Jazz, and they do a summer series of concerts, and they even have a music camp that they do.
Okay.
So probably, a fair amount of working with him over the next year. And then my big project that I've been working on since 2019 or so is a large collection of songs that are inspired by the Mississippi Delta,
Okay.
and traditions and stories, and even some family history around Mississippi, where my father was from. It just became something that a personal thing that I started doing, traveling to the Mississippi Delta, starting around 2018, maybe just a little before then. And as I put together some of the story of the family history, and met other people who had other stories, and making friends there, I developed a project of music that I've been writing, and from time to time recording songs. So now the songs are accumulating. So I would say probably sometime next year I'll put that out.
Oh, fantastic.
So it's called The Knowledge Tree. And it's a big songbook of things, some instrumental, some songs with lyrics.
Wow. Okay.
Inspired by
Sounds
Mississippi.
exciting.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting. Cool, man. Looking forward to all of this.
Thank you, Samo, and hopefully I'll get to your neck of the woods.
Oh man, like I said, drop me a line, send me your email, or let's say tell John that we exchange contacts, and
Okay, perfect.
and we can get in touch, and definitely I'll show you. Wine region, man.
Oh man,
it's insane here. So it's like really the whole Steiermark, which kind of reaches from Slovenia to Austria. It's just
absolutely incredible. Yeah, some of the most intriguing wines.
The white wines here, Welsh Riesling and all this stuff, and the Pinots and the Muscatos and all that. It's like, yeah, in our wine cellar we have so many bottles from the region. I just love wine as well, So, and it's
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're so geographically, you're situated in such an incredible place. Either any direction you go, both wine wise and culture wise, you just it's such an intriguing part of Europe for sure.
Yeah, it's like, Vienna is 2 hours north, Zagreb, Croatia is 1 hour south, and Budapest is 2.5 hours east. So it's like, and Venice kind of 3 hours west, let's say. So it's like really, for an American, that's like, what? It's like, what are you talking about? For us, it's kind of normal. Like, yeah, sure. I mean, there's Budapest and Vienna. It's like, yeah, it's
yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, but cool, man. So nice. Thanks so much for the talk.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah.
You too.
Yeah.